WQXL Columbia, W264DF.
Grills, outdoor kitchens, and fireplaces. Spring Sizzle starts with Bart. This is 107 The Point.
Don't you forget, pressing the button can also be enjoyable for you.
This is Sports Talk with Phil Kornblue, Chris Bergen, and Pat Daniel. Sports Talk is heard across the state on radio affiliates of the Sports Talk Media Network and is streaming live on sportstalksc.com, as well as Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. The South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number to call in is 888-898-2525. That's 888-898-2525. Now, here are Phil, Chris, and Pat with tonight's edition of Sports Talk.
And good evening, everybody. Welcome into Sports Talk here on the Sports Talk Media Network on what is this? A baseball Wednesday night. We put basketball to bed. Spring practice winding down. Clemson with their spring game Saturday. The Gamecocks a week from Saturday. They'll have a scrimmage that's coming Saturday. So how about a little baseball? We've come to Truist Field in beautiful downtown Charlotte to watch South Carolina, North Carolina tonight. This is part of the Sun Belt Collegiate Baseball Series. The Gamecocks played here earlier in the year and beat Appalachian State, and South Carolina, North Carolina have been a part of this arrangement in Charlotte for several years. NC State's been a part of it as well with South Carolina. This will be the sixth meeting between the Gamecocks and the Tar Heels, dominated by North Carolina. They've won five of these. Or is it four or five of these? They've dominated the Gamecocks head-to-head here in Charlotte. Let me just double-check my notes on this thing. It has not gone well for South Carolina. This is the sixth straight year in which they will have played, and North Carolina has won four of the five. That's what it is. 4-1 North Carolina over the Gamecocks. A significant change in the lineup tonight for the Gamecocks because he just hasn't been hitting, so the Gamecocks are going to sit Michael Braswell at least to start the ball game and move Braylon Wimmer over to short and put Jack Mahoney over at second base, and they'll have Braswell available to come off the bench. I don't know if he'll pitch any or maybe pinch hit or pinch run or anything like that if it's needed. But one point he was hitting over 400, but he's been scuffling of late, as have the Gamecocks, especially on the road, only 2 of 8 on the 2 and 8 on the road so far this year. The Gamecocks are 13 and 14. North Carolina is still nationally ranked as high as number 23. They come in at 20 and 8, but they've lost their last 2 ACC series. They were swept by Miami and lost 2 out of 3 to Virginia Tech last weekend. And so this is not the glamour matchup it was supposed to be when this series was created. And it was a few years ago when it was created. It was a glamour matchup. 2 teams regularly going to the College World Series with great records and great reputations. And I can remember coming to those early games, those early years. And, I mean, here we are now, about an hour from first pitch. And, I mean, there's just no buzz. There's no buzz at all. In the past, there's a big party outside, people everywhere, a lot of fanfare, a lot of build-up. Not tonight, as it would appear at this point. I don't know what the crowd's going to look like. We'll see as they open up the gates and let people in. So a chance for South Carolina to get a nice win if they can do it like Clemson did last night over Georgia. That was a very nice win for Clemson coming off a bum weekend. And they get a very nice home win over a highly ranked Georgia team. And, you know, with this midweek games, the midweek pitching, you never really know what you're going to get. Chris Bergen is also doing baseball. He's in our Columbia studios tonight. He has the good fortune of being in our luxurious suites over at the Point Radio. And he was in Columbia today spending time with the Columbia Fireflies, who had their media day today. So I bet you had a lot of fun.
Actually did, Phil, and I figure, you know, once a year I come by the Point and hang out in the studio with Pat, because it was about this time last year that I joined the show and did the first ever show for me on Sports Talk here in the studio. Have not been back since. So I appreciate the invitation to come back and visit. But, yeah, great time today. First opportunity that I've had to get inside Segra Park. And for folks who, you know this full well, but for folks who have not been in that facility, it is gorgeous. Just a lovely place for baseball. And the Fireflies rolled out the red carpet for us today. got to meet some of the players, chatted with Tony Pena Jr., their brand new manager, who's obviously got a very long legacy in professional baseball. He seems excited. They're all fired up about a brand new season. And the one interesting thing that to a man they talked about was the fact to be able to go through a season this year with fans in attendance, not having to worry about social distancing and whether or not they can have full capacity. I think everybody's ready for a regular type season of baseball. And the Fireflies certainly appear to be raring to go. Now, the question is, what kind of product will they put out on the field starting Friday?
Yes, indeed, indeed. And looking forward to that. So, minor league baseball is a heck of a lot of fun. When you go to the game as a fan, and I've been a few times, I mean, you just sit back, relax. If you want to have a strong rooting interest in your team, your local team, that's fine. Knowing that the players, in all honesty, well, I guess depending on their age and their experience. If they're brand new, they're just happy to be in pro ball and making a check. But if they're in Columbia for like their third or fourth stint, they're probably not excited about it because they want to be moving up in the baseball chain. They want to get up into Double A, Triple A, and then get to the show. It can be a little bit depressing to be back in Single A for another season if you've been there for several years.
Well, and I asked Tony Pena Jr., their new manager, as I mentioned a couple of moments ago, I asked him about, is there a sense of frustration when you're a manager of a minor league team when you know winning and losing is not all that important, especially at the Single A level? Your job is to get guys ready to be elevated throughout the system. And, talking with several of their people, they are so excited about being part of the Kansas City Royals organization. It's a sort of stark difference. I didn't realize this, but the Mets organization, because they're in New York and have all that money that they can spend, it was a different route for minor league teams because they didn't necessarily have to worry about developing homegrown talents because they could just go buy talent if necessary. Hasn't always worked out that way for the Mets. But for the Royals, there's a lot more emphasis on their minor league system. And so they feel like, there are opportunities here that they may not get in the Mets organization. And Pena was like, no, I'm not frustrated at all. If we're undefeated and our starting pitcher, on the first game of the series and our shortstop and our center fielder all get moved up, I'm excited about that because that means I've done my job to get them ready for the next level.
Absolutely. Yeah, the Royals, of course, at one point had a pristine minor league system, and they brought up young player after young player, which made them sustainable as a power back in the George Brett years, and that all those great players they had. And then it dried up, and they dropped off. Then they rebounded a few years ago, had a great couple of years, won a World Series championship. I have one question for you guys back in the studio. I know I'm on camera. I see Pat's on camera. Why is Chris not on camera? He's in the studio. Pat.
We are
camera?
efforting. No, it is not on Pat. That's a situation on my end. We are efforting to get corrected. So it may boil down to Pat gets the camera for one segment, then he'll flip it over to me for a segment, and we'll go back and forth.
It's called teamwork, Corn. Teamwork.
I mean, when I'm in there, the star of the show, the camera's on me. You're in there, Chris. You're the star of the show. The camera should be on you. But nothing against you, Pat. That's fine. If you want to, show off your red locks to everybody, that's fine, and that's well and good. Our phone number, 888-898-2525, South Carolina Education Lottery. Lucky number to reach us here on Sports Talk. Since 2002, more than $160 million in lottery proceeds have been used to fund South Carolina Hope Scholarships for the state's college-bound students. Learn more about the lottery's impact at sceducationlottery.com/educationwins. Playing for fun is a win for education. So we got a lot to do. We're going to talk more about this baseball stuff in a moment. Masters coverage tonight. MJ Ward's going to join us at 6:30 tonight from Augusta. Don Williams at 7:05 tonight from Augusta as we get ready for round one tomorrow. The weather, again, a factor today. As I was driving here to Charlotte, I saw a tweet that the par 3 had been at least interrupted.
Mm-hmm.
I guess it was rained out. Did they ever finish it?
I don't think they got – I think they just had to call it wherever they were. I didn't see who ultimately won it, but I did see a shot of the practice round that Tiger Woods was playing. And if you ever wonder what kind of impact he has on the sport, just look at how many people tuned in just to see him go through a practice round today. And I think it was on 18, and that tee box was lined all the way down the fairway just to get a glimpse at Tiger Woods. So I can promise you the Masters is happy to have him back. There's no question. And CBS, too.
Well, I can tell you from trying to follow him at the PGA in 2012 at the Ocean Course that to get a glimpse, to get anywhere near Tiger on a course, you've got to go find your spot about 3 or 4 holes ahead, and then hold your spot because the horde will follow him. You can't get anywhere near him on the golf course. It's hard to get a close up look at him. So Masters talk coming up here on Sports Talk. Dabo Sweeney just a meeting with the media. The Tigers have wrapped up practice. Looking at a tweet here from John Blau, Post and Courier covering the Tigers. He said that Adam Randall's ACL tear was a best case scenario in terms of how he tore it. He is still going to have a great freshman year, Sweeney said, going to be fine. He's not going to lay out an exact timetable, but he says not impossible to be back for week one.
Something
I
in
told
them
you they heal
hills.
quickly up there.
Something in those hills
They
up there.
heal incredibly quick up there. It is amazing what they can do. And hopefully we'll have the audio from Dabo Sweeney for you guys here a little bit later on. I'll be with you to 7:30, then I'll peel off, and we'll have SC Wild with Chris and Major Billy Downer and Pat. Excited to have Major Downer back with us tonight. A lot of things to talk about, especially Chris after that big storm last night. I'm sure he'll have some information on damage around the state of South Carolina, tornado sightings, things that his DNR folks have had to jump into today to help with any cleanup, any injuries related to the storm. Unfortunately, deaths, things like that, and some other topics that you'll have to kick around. If you have any questions for the Major about last night or about anything related to the outdoors or DNR and its services, you can reach him tonight. 888-898-2525 is the number through our South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number. Couple of other quick notes as we take a look at our notebook brought to you by Founders Federal. You can get a mortgage note at Founders Federal for as low as 3.22%. Grab them while they are low. The USC women's guard, Destiny Henderson, has filed for inclusion into the WNBA draft, where she's a senior, and she had a career-high 26 points in the national championship game. So additional players from colleges and universities have formally filed for inclusion as candidates for the draft. And they talk about her being a first-round pick. And I would think that after her performance the other night, that would indeed be the case. The draft is set for April 11th up in New York. A sad note. This really hits close to home for both of us, Chris. Chris Browning has passed away. Chris Browning was once the president of Darlington Raceway. He died on Sunday. He ran Darlington and Rockingham from 1992 to 2013. Used to come on this program. As a matter of fact, he was the original president of Darlington to come on Sports Talk back in the day. Just a terrific person. And I don't know if he was still living in the PD area or had moved. Do you know?
That I do not know, Phil. And I was just scrolling through Twitter this afternoon and happened to run across Bob Pockris, the fine beat reporter for NASCAR for Fox. And he tweeted that out. And I was like, oh, my gosh, you're kidding. Because Chris Browning couldn't have been, late 40s, early 50s. A really, really sad story. And as you pointed out, especially hits really, really close to home because before KT, before Chip Weil, there was Chris Browning at Darlington Raceway, and he was really good with the media. I used to have him on my local show in Florence. So, yeah, the sad story of coming out of NASCAR.
Yeah, hate to hear that. Let's see. Pat tells us that Jason Kokrak had the one and only hole-in-one in the par 3 today. Canadians Mike Weir and Mackenzie Hughes were named the co-winners. So they're done as far as the tournament is concerned based on tradition and history. But you know what? I was listening to PGA Tour Radio, Masters Radio this afternoon, and they were talking about, golfers tanking it so they don't win it. I'd go the other direction. I'd want to win it and then go win the tournament just to show that I am the man, that no mythical force can keep me from winning at Augusta National, even if I win the par 3.
Well, maybe that influences and fires up Mike Weir. He's a former Masters champion himself, and at one point in time was on top of his game and playing really, really well. I've not heard of him in 5 or 6 years now. So, yeah, maybe he can go out and be that first to win the par 3 and get the double dip and also win the Masters. I wouldn't bet on it, though. He's not going to be in the top 10 of my picks for sure.
Also seeing where we'll get to this in recruiting as well, but I'll mention it here. USC women are picking up. Maybe this is the birdie that Dawn Staley was alluding to. She's getting a transfer from Georgia Tech in guard Kiera Fletcher. She announced a commitment to South Carolina today as a transfer from Georgia Tech. We'll look up some information on her, have a little bit more in recruiting coming up. All right, let's hit the break, and we'll come back and talk more about this game. The Gamecocks going to be the visiting team tonight, so they're in their garnet tops and gray pants, and North Carolina is in the white with their Tar Heel blue on the sleeves and on the trim and on the caps. And we'll talk more about South Carolina baseball and why the Gamecocks are where they are after the break. If you want to join us, 888-898-2525 is our phone number as we come to you from Charlotte as well as from downtown Columbia. We'll be back after the break.
The countdown is on, and Columbia Fireflies baseball is right around the corner. Join us at Cyber Park for Fireflies opening night Friday, April 8th at 7:05 p.m. as the Fireflies battle in-state rival Atlanta Braves affiliate, the Augusta Green Jackets. Make sure to stick around after the game for Fireworks Spectacular. Fireflies opening weekend continues Saturday, April 9th with our Royal Celebration and another post-game fireworks show. Bring your whole family for Sunday Funday where kids can run the bases after the game. Tickets start at just $5. Visit FirefliesTickets.com to get your tickets today.
Sports fans, are you in it to win it? Join South Carolina's fight against COVID-19 by getting your vaccine today. Vaccines are safe and will help stabilize school operations by bringing us back together safely. The CDC recommends everyone 5 years and older get vaccinated. Visit scdhec.gov/VaxLocator or call 866-365-8110 to find a vaccination station near you.
Founders Federal Credit Union knows your life is busy and your money is important. We are proud to offer local personalized services and convenient online services like Founders Online and the Founders app. You'll love being with us as much as we love serving you. Visit relaxjoinfounders.com or one of our 37 convenient locations to see if you qualify for membership with Founders. Relax, win with Founders. Terms and conditions apply. Founders Federal Credit Union is federally insured by NCUA.
Hey, this is Major Billy Downer with DNR, and coming up tonight at 7:30, another edition of SC Wild on the Sports Talk Radio Network.
The lady in black doesn't age.
Parents ask, what's the best way to save for college? I'm State Treasurer Curtis Losses, and my answer is always open a Future Scholar 529 college savings account. It's easy. You can get started online with any amount. It's flexible to adapt to your child's college dream. And you can deduct 100% of your contributions from the South Carolina state tax return. So what are you waiting for? Go to FutureScholar.com and see why it's the smart, easy way to save for college. FutureScholar.com.
Fletcher's a 5'9" senior guard transferring to South Carolina from Georgia Tech. She averaged 13 points, about 4 rebounds, about 5 rebounds, and 4 assists per game last year. Must be a pretty good player heading to South Carolina. That'll help with the departure of Henderson and also Littleton, a couple of guards who will be departing the program. So that'll help from that standpoint. Also today, I talked to Yerrick Snowman, the outgoing basketball coach at Ridgeview, get an update on G.G. Jackson. Now he tells us that there'll be no decision announcement this week or next week. It's already getting late in the week, and Jackson is going to Orlando on Friday for an AAU event, and then they're on spring break next week, so nothing's going to happen then. So we're looking deeper into April. He did tell me that he believed that Lamont Paris, the new USC coach, talked by phone with Jackson's mother. They're still in a dead period until tomorrow. So does not look like anything's going to happen in person with those right now. But he did talk to the mom by phone, apparently, according to the coach, who he said in his opinion, it's just his opinion, he does not believe that Jackson's going to take any more visits. He's never visited Auburn. And, going back to South Carolina, could happen with his mom, could not. Maybe they would meet at a restaurant or something else. I don't know. He could take another official visit to South Carolina if he wanted to because of the coaching change. But, again, this is just the coach's opinion. Did not think at this point from what he's gathering that any more visits are going to happen. So that is the latest that we could bring you on that.
Confused about the dead period. So they can't – Lamont Paris cannot chat with the player, but he can chat with the family. Is that correct?
No. He can talk to him on the phone, social media. Just can't see him in person during a dead period. They can't go and visit the school. They can't go to the high school, the home, and the player can't go to the school. There can't be any in-person contact.
But they can still talk to them, tweet them to death, and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So what's the point?
Absolutely.
I mean, what's the point in a dead
I guess
period?
in-person contact is to, the dead period is to prevent in-person contact and give everybody a break, I guess, and let the recruits kind of chill out a little bit, let the coaches chill out a little bit, and just eliminate that need and desire to schedule a visit and get somebody to come in for a visit. It's the only thing I can think of. I mean, I think dead periods should be longer. They got too much recruiting activity right now. I think if the NCAA were to ever become a powerful organization again and actually was running college sports and actually had a say-so and could actually make things happen, if they really wanted to get back in control of the college game and make it more about college than about professional sports, the first thing they should do is attack the recruiting model and cut it back. I mean, put in rules and reduce the number of months that are spent forcing these guys to recruit. And I promise you, I guarantee you, if you did that and you enforced it across the board, every coach would sign up for it. Don't you think they want to do less recruiting instead of more recruiting?
But the problem is they will complain about it because we're not getting enough time to visit these high-profile recruits. But you have to – this is one of those cases like, get rid of two-a-days. And they can in high schools where you have to go through a couple of days of the acclimatization to get ready for the summer. If they never let that occur, if they didn't set rules, I'm not sure it would have initially started. But now I don't think there's a football coach on the planet that would want to go back and throw pads and helmets on the guys the first day of fall camp. I think the same thing here. You've got to stick your toes in the sand initially and then feel you could probably relax the rules, and the coaches would have gotten used to the new rules.
Yeah, if they abided by them, it would take some honesty among these guys, and but I would definitely cut back on the recruiting calendar because it's gotten really crazy. It's become 12 months out of the year and by the way, look who's come on board into the what are we in the 21st century?
Yes.
Look who's joined the 21st century. Dabo Swinney has joined the 21st century. Paul Strelo of Tiger Illustrated wrote that 2 recruits from Texas have set official visits to Clemson in, hold your breath, June.
Yeah.
Dabo Swinney is going to allow official visits in June, apparently, according to Paul Strelo. The first weekend in June, they will have official visits at Clemson. He hasn't done that. That's one of his no-nos in recruiting, just like not recruiting out of the transfer portal has been one of his no-nos, though he's given that some lip service. I don't know if he's actually going to take anybody outside of Hunter Johnson from the transfer portal. But the official visit thing, apparently Dabo has been convinced by somebody that, you got to start doing this. And also probably the next thing is you got to start offering players earlier because he's been steadfast on not offering players in the younger classes until they get older, while everybody else is offering them, and players are starting to cut their list down and not including teams that aren't offering them. Now, they can always go back and add somebody when they get an offer, but then you're playing from behind.
Mm-hmm.
And, I mean, I think his view on things has been, hey, look, we're Clemson. We're so strong. We can come from behind and get anybody we want for the most part. But I think lately he's not been winning some of those battles like Ohio State and LSU and Alabama have been beating him with some of those guys. All right, we'll be back.
Made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
And here's tonight's forecast. Overnight showers possible. We'll stay mild with a low of just 66. Tomorrow, a few morning showers might linger before we have a mix of sun and clouds the rest of the day and a high of 67. A cold front will bring much cooler weekend temps with a Saturday high of just 57 and a Saturday night low of 38. No more rain until the middle of the week. I'm Brian Leonard with your On Point local weather.
When you think about spring, good stuff springs to mind. You know, like spring break. Woohoo! A friend springing for drinks.
Thanks, dude.
A spring in your step. Spring fever.
Oh, behave.
And best of all, spring water dough pizza from the Mellow Mushroom Pizza Bakers.
Yeah, baby.
Experience the taste of spring with our amazing hand-tossed pies, spring fresh salads, and over 100 beers from around the world. Enjoy spring at the Mellow Mushroom in the Vista and on Sunset in Lexington.
Balance of Nature's fruits and vegetables in a capsule, changing the world one life at a time.
Well, I drive a truck for a living. I don't get hardly any exercise. I'm not kidding you now. I'm not easily sold on anything, but I'm a firm believer in this product. You know, I watched those advertisements for 2 or 3 years and listened to the radio going down the road, and I said, something's got to be going on with that product for that many people to do ads for them. And I'll tell you what, I just uptown a while ago, I told some of my buddies, I said, I'm not BSing you, man. I'm not kidding you. It's amazing. It totally amazes me.
Experience the Balance of Nature difference for yourself. Right now, Balance of Nature is offering free shipping and 35% off on any new preferred order. Start your journey to better health today by calling 1-800-2468-751. That's 800-2468-751. Or go to balanceofnature.com and use discount code BALANCE.
When it comes to firearms, ammunition, and accessories, some things are changing. Well, fortunately, some things haven't changed a bit. I'm talking all about Shooter's Choice in West Columbia. What has never and will never change is the customer service. Top-notch with the staff that has decades of experience in the firearms industry. This staff actually hunts and shoots regularly. For over 30 years, Shooter's Choice has never lost that hometown feel and never felt like shopping at some big box store. What has changed? Well, technology. If you'd rather spend your money on firearms than gas, go online to shooterschoicesc.com and check out a great website that's easy to navigate 24/7. Be the first to get items as they are received at the store. Be the first to get that newest production model ordered before it even enters the retail store. Come pick it up at your convenience. Sign up for notifications of new products and special inventory. It's all at shooterschoicesc.com. So come on in and see the team at Shooter's Choice, 944 Sunset Boulevard, or visit online. Either way, you'll see what I'm talking about. Make your first choice, your best choice. Make it Shooter's Choice.
Dave Ramsey here. Do you want your money to work for you rather than you working for your money? Go see my friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union. They're not a mega bank and have been serving the Midlands since 1936, offering good old-fashioned customer service and free services. They'll look out for your financial well-being. With 14 locations, check them out today at palmettocitizens.org. Federally insured by the NCUA.
Hi, this is Marsha Clayman.
And I'm Karen Pickard. We're your hosts for the Positive Point on Aging.
We'll talk about aging gracefully and senior care every Tuesday morning from 8:30 to 9 o'clock a.m.
Join us right here on the Point for the Positive Point on Aging.
Brought to you by Oakley Village of Lexington.
Hi, Chris Neely here from the South Carolina Public Charter School District. Join me every Tuesday afternoon at 5:30 with Kev as we put our kids first. We'll answer all your questions about charter schools in the Palmetto State. Kids first, every Tuesday afternoon at 5:30 on the Point.
You know what? I get asked every now and then, Kev, when you say my guy, do you really have a my guy at Palmetto Exterminators? Well, I really do. Ron Byers is my guy. Do you realize I've been a customer of Palmetto Exterminators for 20 years this summer? That's over the course of 3 homes, longer than my kids have been around. I'm loyal to Palmetto Exterminators for several reasons. First, they do a phenomenal job with pest control for a very fair price. It's just not a concern around my home. They take care of everything from regular visits to termite inspection, mosquito care. This is a company that's been around for more than 60 years serving the Midlands. When they come around, they're clean, they're courteous, and they're on time. Look, it's not just me. When it comes to things like those pesky mosquitoes, Palmetto Exterminators voted best of Columbia in Columbia Metropolitan for their mosquito control. I could have told you that before anyone even voted. What else can you possibly need from your pest control company? If you're looking for someone to help you, look no further than my guy, Ron Byers, Palmetto Exterminators. Online, it's palmettoexterminators.net or call them 254-5833, 254-5833.
All right, back on Sports Talk, couple of quick things, and then MJ Ward is going to join us from Augusta. We began talking more in detail about the Masters, where, by the way, the weather is definitely going to be a factor like it is here. Like right now, we've got overhead clouds, not supposed to rain here early on. Now, there could be some rain and thunderstorms moving into the Charlotte area later on this evening. Right now, I'm seeing some pretty dark clouds overhead, hoping they're going to keep on moving away and probably heading into South Carolina. But as far as Augusta is concerned, the weather's going to be a big deal tomorrow, Friday, and Saturday. A lot of wind on Friday, cold on Saturday, very nice on Sunday. Tomorrow, dealing with all the rain, I imagine the course will be pretty soft and playing pretty long. But wanted to get back to a quick thing here before we get to MJ. And first of all, on the USC women, Victoria Saxton announced she's going to return. Victoria Saxton. Victoria. Victaria. With an A. Victoria. Victoria?
Victoria.
Saxton. Victoria Saxton.
Sexton.
Announcing she's going to return. That's what I said. Victoria Saxton.
It's Victoria
How many?
Taria.
I said Victoria Saxton.
There you go.
What did I say?
You got it right.
Victoria Saxton announces she's returning to the program for a 5th year. Kiera Fletcher, the numbers I gave you were from last year, not this year. She sat out this year with a foot injury. And the numbers I gave you were from the previous year. And she's, like I said, a good player from Georgia Tech, 5'9", out of Warren, Michigan, a 4-year starter for Georgia Tech. And in her last year of competition, 13 points, about 5.5 assists, about 5.5 rebounds, and 4 assists per game. Okay. Just thought I'd get that in there before we get to MJ. Let's welcome in from Augusta National, where the world is watching. And yes, I think this could be the world's greatest sporting event, the Masters. Mr. Bergen doesn't necessarily agree with that. He thinks Augusta National is a pitch and putt course. He could go out there and scratch out a 68 anytime he wanted to.
I said those guys can do that.
Well, that's because they're the best in the world at what they do. They're
true.
The best in the world.
True. There's no question. But in terms of in terms of the majors, my point was Augusta's one of the easier of the 4. And I'm not wrong.
Well, let's ask a man who covers all 4 majors and covers the golf world internationally. MJ Ward joining us from Augusta. Great to have you with us once again. And I guess it's time to tee it up and let them fly and see what happens starting tomorrow.
It certainly is. I mean, you just covered something that was very important. The weather conditions are going to be an issue. I mean, springtime is very unpredictable. And I think cooler temperatures when they come in is going to have a major impact, especially when we get towards Saturday's 3rd round. So it'll be interesting to see how that all happens. But it's now time to put all the talk and all the speculation in the rearview mirror, and let's see what happens tomorrow. Let's get on with it.
Yeah, absolutely. Your final take on Tiger. You've written a story about what went down yesterday with his announcement that he's going to give it a go. And he was out walking the course today, getting in some more practice and listening to some people on Masters Radio who were calling in, who were out among the patrons watching. You know, they talked about his limp and all this. And what do you think? You think he can make it through 36 and then beyond if he makes the weekend, which he's never not made the weekend as a pro at Augusta?
Well, I'm gonna fess up, because when you asked me the last time and you said, you know, is there any chance of seeing Tiger play? And I said no. I mean, I didn't see it coming, and I think to Tiger, to Tiger's credit, he so underplayed the expectation that people really basically just went along with it and said, well, I guess that's not going to happen. I guess it's going to be at some point in time, and it won't be at Augusta. So, he changed the dial. I think the major question that comes up with Tiger is, how honest is he about where he is at? And he has always been a straightforward guy. And if you take him at what he says, when he does say something, because oftentimes he likes to keep his cards close, he said yesterday, real simple, 2-word phrase. It was asked directly, do you think you can win? And he says, I do. So the reality is this: there's a part of me that says, as people get older in age, you just have to wonder, when does the diminishment of skills start to happen? And Tiger said he's aware of that. If and when that does happen, which it will, he'll be the first to know, and certainly won't be showing up. But his general way of handling things is, I don't come to places unless I can win. So we're going to find that out tomorrow. I mean, it's really about two different forces here. It's about whether or not, at this age that he's at now, he can play competitive golf. I mean, the over-under on his opening round for tomorrow is 75.5. So you begin to wonder, certainly the bookmakers are looking at it from the standpoint of, okay, let's take him for what he has already said. And you already mentioned this already about him never having missed a cut at Augusta. There is more money on the part that says he will miss the cut versus the part that says he'll be there on the weekend. So I think the public at large is still trying to get their hands around, what is. I mean, no question about it. The buzz, the sentimentality, what you're seeing with Tiger, to me, is reminiscent of what it was like when Jack was 46 years old. They're the same age, okay? Jack was 46 years old when he won the 86 Masters. And I think you're seeing the same kind of love and attention that Tiger has, rightly earned over his entire career. But as far as what will happen tomorrow, that is totally unknown. And I think we're just going to have to wait and see. I think any speculation from practice rounds, from what kind of golf shoes he's wearing, I mean, there's a whole litany on what goes on with this guy. So we'll have to see tomorrow. I have no clue how he will perform. I will say this, though. Since his win at the 2019 Masters, Tiger has had 3 missed cuts. He has not finished in the top 20 in any major since his win at Augusta. And his last performance at Augusta was in 2020 when he tied for 38. So, there's ways you have to look at this. There's also going to be people who are going to simply come back and say, well, it's Tiger Woods. He can accomplish anything. Certainly, if you look at his past record, you can't deny the fact that he's done things that were incredible.
So are you expecting, based on what you're saying, you're not expecting a Ben Hogan type return to the golf world here by Tiger Woods?
I think if he makes the cut, I think, Tiger, is not going to set low expectations. I mean, he wouldn't come to a press event and say, hey, I'm just here to make the cut. That's not Tiger Woods. I mean, that's not in his DNA to say that. From my perspective, as hopefully as a media person and not trying to buy into the hype, I think if he makes the cut, I think it would be tremendous, because the expectations for what he's about are so high, but you have to be realistic. I mean, given where he was just over, 14 months ago, I mean, he might have lost his right leg. So things are at a different point right now.
Yeah.
MJ Ward with us here tonight on Sports Talk. Looking forward to the start of the Masters. Opening round is set for tomorrow. And MJ, let's move away from Tiger for a moment. Assuming he doesn't make the cut, or even if he does, if he's not in contention, as you look at the field, and it's as strong as it has been in a long time in golf, it's as balanced as it has been in a long time at the professional level. Who are two of the three guys that I think probably pretty easy to pick some of the betting favorites, but who do you look at as somebody who will be in contention with the lead going to the back nine on Sunday?
Well, I mean, I think what you're seeing right now at the Masters, and you probably saw it with some of the other major championships, and you saw it with last year's Ryder Cup matches in Wisconsin. We have a new generation of players that is now out there. I mean, whether it's Justin Thomas, Patrick Cantlay, Colin Morikawa, Sam Burns, Bryson DeChambeau. I mean, there's a whole range of young players. They've got their feet wet. They're tested. Scotty Scheffler is having a fantastic season. The page has probably already turned, but it has not happened at the Masters yet. And it'll be interesting to see if these guys can handle the pressure because, frankly, as anyone knows after watching the Masters for many, many years, when you get to the back nine, you understand what the dimensions are. You're playing for immortality. You're playing for a green jacket. You're playing for an invite to the champions dinner. It's all in front of you. And that can be overwhelming for just about anybody. But now these younger guys are in the hunt. What's surprising to me will be to see is how will some of the other players who don't have much of a spotlight but are really talented, how well does Brooks Koepka perform? How well does Dustin Johnson come back in terms of performance? I mean, it wasn't that long ago that DJ broke the course record, in terms of what he scored in November of 2020. So we're not that far away from that time frame. But I also think that the younger players, their experience, they've been through a lot. Scotty Scheffler has made a tremendous move, and not only being the world number one player, but you could see where golf is going with where these younger guys are at right now. When they see a guy like Tiger Woods, there's tremendous respect for a guy like him and Phil Mickelson. But the reality is, they know that if they play their top game, that they're going to be tough to beat. And you're seeing it already. It has not happened at Augusta, and it would not surprise me if one of the names I just mentioned, there may be a few other guys under 30 that you could say are possibilities. But I think the generational shift has already happened in golf. It just hasn't happened at Augusta, and it could be this week.
Last thing, we'll let you go. What about DeChambeau coming back from his injuries? And, at one point it looked like he was just going to take over Augusta National with his length and his strength. And what about now? Where is he? Is he going to be much of a factor? Can he be much of a factor?
The only thing I would say about Bryson is that sometimes Bryson gets in his own way. And I think, sometimes you have to be able to have people tell you what you don't want to hear. And I don't know if Bryson has those people in his camp to tell him that he needs to be thinking longer term. Don't worry about playing in some freak show for the long distance drive title of the world out in Mesquite, Nevada. I mean, that is absolutely useless. I mean, that's like Tiger wanting to be a wannabe Navy SEAL. I mean, it's just that's the most, it's the most inane, idiotic. If you get hurt, your entire career could go out the window. It's not like when Michael Jordan opted to leave basketball to go to baseball. I mean, he had a skill in baseball, but Bryson needs to be surrounded by people who are going to be able to explain to him that he needs to think longer term. He's got tremendous talent, but there comes a point when you get involved in the sideshows, the freak shows, and you really take away from what you're going to be about. If he injures himself, there's a possibility that he goes on the shelf. He's trying to come back from an injury. So I think if he really pays attention to what really he's there to do, you can never discount what this guy's capable of doing. I mean, there's a guy who could just literally level the playing field. And you mentioned something, Phil, before. If the weather turns the golf course soft, that means you're going to have to physically carry the ball to get to the optimum areas. He has that capability of doing that, but he's got to keep his focus back on what he needs to do, which is let's worry about the golf and let's not worry about all the other stuff that's going around him.
MJ, great stuff as always, man. We'll talk to you tomorrow night, Friday night, to help us with our extensive coverage of Augusta National, the 86th Masters. We thank you. We'll talk to you tomorrow.
Phil, it's a pleasure. I just want to say congratulations to the women for winning the national title. This is one Gamecock is proud of them.
Okay. Thank you for getting that in there and joining the masses. There'll be a parade on Wednesday in downtown Columbia if you want to come back and participate.
I will be there in spirit, but I'm just so happy to know that Gino lost a final game for the first time at Connecticut. Makes my heart proud.
Okay. Thank you, MJ. We'll talk to you tomorrow. MJ Ward from Augusta. Coming up after 7 o'clock, we have the master of all Masters reporters, Don Williams, who's going into about year 40 or so of reporting from the Masters. Going to hit a break here. We'll come back and to give you the recruiting report. Dabo Sweeney, will hear from him in the next hour after Don. And that's the only way to follow the Don is with the Dabo. And then S.C. Wild at 7:30. And Pat can tell us a little bit about the special guest that we'll have on that along with Major Downer. It's really threatening overhead right now. I've got my fingers crossed. We'll get this thing started on time. We'll be back.
I'm not like some whoop-de-doo executive chef. I consider myself more of a baker than a chef. I like working with my hands. I like turning regular ingredients into like something spectacular.
The South Carolina Education Lottery has funded over 450,000 life scholarships in our state, giving countless students a chance to answer their calling, just like Aaron. Your passion is our purpose.
Hi, this is Major Billy Downer with DNR, and coming up tonight at 7:30, another edition of SC Wild on the Sports Talk Radio Network.
The lady in black doesn't age.
Parents ask, what's the best way to save for college? I'm State Treasurer Curtis Loftus, and my answer is always open a Future Scholar 529 college savings account. It's easy. You can get started online with any amount. It's flexible to adapt to your child's college dream. And you can deduct 100% of your contributions from the South Carolina state tax return. So what are you waiting for? Go to FutureScholar.com and see why it's the smart, easy way to save for college. FutureScholar.com.
We're with Major Billy Downer of DNR. Major, it's always a good time for folks to remember to get those licenses renewed.
Doesn't matter what time of year, it's always a season in, whether it's fishing or hunting. Make sure you check your licenses, make sure they're up to date. If you need a hunting or fishing license, you may go to www.dnr.sc.gov to purchase your license online or to any local licensed vendor in your local area.
And don't forget to join us for SC Wild from DNR with Major Billy Downer on Sports Talk on the Sports Talk Media Network. The recruiting report coming to you from downtown Charlotte tonight. It'll be South Carolina style, not North Carolina style. Our recruiting report is brought to you by Seawells. As great a town as Charlotte is, they do not have a Seawells. That's another reason that Columbia is the better capital city compared to Raleigh, and that South Carolina is the better state compared to North Carolina. We have Seawells. They do not. You should take advantage of the fact that we have Seawells. The daily luncheon buffet from 11 till 2. Another great day today, Pat. Don't know if you made it over there. I'm going to get back over there. I've invited K-Mac for a consolation lunch on Friday at Seawells. I'm calling it the elimination from the NBA playoffs lunch on me. And of course, a free lunch, K-Mac has accepted it. But it's to celebrate the Lakers' elimination from the playoffs. And we're going to go to Seawell's. Hopefully, it'll be a roast beef Friday. Please tell me we have a roast beef Friday coming up.
Do you know how bad you have to be not to make it into the NBA playoffs now? I mean, the entire league makes the postseason.
Yeah, pretty darn bad.
How awful do you have to be
not to make the playoffs? Bad, I would say. Yeah. I mean, really bad. Really bad. Do we have a roast beef Friday or not coming up?
We do, Corn. Friday, we will have a little bit of RBF, also with Southern fried chicken and fried flounder. Whereas tomorrow, Thursday, we'll be celebrating Thanksgiving. Carved turkey with cornbread dressing, Southern fried chicken, and fried pork chops, of course, to go along with salad, all the fixins, and dessert. Uh-oh, Corn, did we lose you from Charlotte?
All right, sounds good. Looking forward. Let's give you the recruiting report. Oh, by the way, for Seawell's, let me give you the phone number, 803-771-7385. SeawellsCateringSC.com, of course, the best in the catering business. Wide receiver Christian Hamilton out of Harrisburg, North Carolina, 6 feet, 175. Not too far from us here. A national-level recruit. He's cut his list down to a dozen schools in January. Clemson, USC both made the cut. North Carolina, Penn State, Georgia, Purdue, NC State, Oregon, Texas A&M, Notre Dame, Louisville, Wake Forest also made the cut. Visited Clemson last month. Visited with Dabo Sweeney, receivers coach Dr. Grisham, said the visit went good, really likes it up there. Says it's genuine love, not forced love. Said we talked more than about just football. Talked about life. So they're up there on his list. He also was at USC last summer, was back for the Kentucky game last season, going to make another visit for the spring game, April 16th. He's been in regular contact with Shane Beamer, receivers coach Justin Stepp. They tell him there's a place for him at South Carolina. They tell him how they need him at South Carolina, how they can use him, how they're changing the program there. So they're up there as well. He said he really likes Beamer. Kind of stands out the most to him about the program is Beamer himself. He went to North Carolina in February and Florida last month. And this month, he's also planning to see Texas A&M and Georgia. He is eyeing his birthday, October 24th, for a commitment announcement. Last season, he had 49 receptions, 17 going for touchdowns, and he totaled 1,277 all-purpose yards. If you just are catching us, repeating earlier news, senior guard Kiera Fletcher, who's 5'9", is transferring to South Carolina from Georgia Tech. Did not play this season because of a foot injury, but the previous season, 13 points, 5.5 rebounds, and 4 assists per game. Per his coach at Ridgeview, that would be Yerrick Stoneman, no decision this week or next from G.G. Jackson. He goes to Orlando Friday for an AAU event. Next week is spring break. Stoneman tells us he believes that new USC coach Lamont Paris talked by phone with Jackson's mother yesterday. Defensive tackle Xavier McLeod of Camden plans to visit Georgia Monday and Tuesday. USC target center Connor Liu took a visit to Pittsburgh today. USC target running back Trayon Webb will visit Tennessee this weekend. Paul Strelo of Tiger Illustrated reported offensive tackle Harris Sewell of Odessa, Texas, and cornerback Braxton Myers of Coppell, Texas, have set officials with Clemson for June 3rd. So as I mentioned before, that means that Dabo Swinney now is allowing official visits in the summer. A basketball reporter, Nick Lawrenson, reported Morehead State transfer Johnny Broom has told him a large number of schools have reached out to him since he went into the portal, including South Carolina. And Clemson target wide receiver Ronan Hannafin was offered by Southern Cal. All right, I'm going to toss it back to you guys. National anthem's being played. I'm going to shut it down here to the top of the hour.
All right, Phil, we'll check back in with you in a couple of moments. Phil broadcasting live up in Charlotte. Get ready for South Carolina, North Carolina. And we haven't had a chance to really break down much of this game, Pat. I think one of the key factors is going to be how long can Eli Jones go tonight for South Carolina. Here's a freshman who's got exactly one inning of experience. going up against North Carolina tonight, and he desperately needs to pitch probably 7-8 innings because we know South Carolina's got no bullpen.
You're exactly right. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe in his first outing he lasted 1 inning and gave up, 2 or 3 runs to PC?
His ERA is 27.
They're going to need better performance than that tonight, maybe even spring for rain.
All right, we'll take a timeout. Top of the hour. We'll come back more from Augusta National as we got Don Williams on the line. We'll get back hooked up with Phil as the Gamecocks come to bat. Top of the first. Plus your phone calls. It's a busy night here on Sports Talk.
By the way, before we do what's supposed to happen here, thank you for pushing the button. I thank you. Programming thanks you. America thanks you.
WQXL Columbia, W264DF.
Grills, outdoor kitchens, and fireplaces. Spring Sizzle starts with Bart. This is 107 The Point.
News this hour from townhall.com. I'm Keith Peters reporting. President Biden is cautioning that Russia's war against Ukraine could continue for a long time. White House correspondent Craig Bluxton reports.
The president said Russia has already failed in its initial war after being turned back from the Ukrainian capital. However, he warned that this fight is far from over.
This war can continue for a long time, but the United States will continue to stand with Ukraine and the Ukrainian people in the fight for freedom.
Mr. Biden expressed his disgust about the reported atrocities committed by Russian troops and vowed that the U.S. and its allies are going to stifle Russia's ability to grow for years to come. Greg Clugston, the White House.
Violent weather has hit the South with heavy rains, high winds, and tornadoes that have leveled structures in Texas and Georgia. Jared Geyer at the National Weather Service Storm Prediction Center says some of the hardest hit areas were downstate parts of Georgia into southern South Carolina.
There were likely several tornadoes in that corridor. Survey crews from the National Weather Service will be out surveying damage over the next day or two and making those assessments and determining how many tornadoes exactly occurred.
In Bryan County, Georgia, an official said a woman was killed by a suspected tornado that damaged homes and left several others injured. Toyota customers soon won't be able to get U.S. federal tax credits for buying electric or plug-in hybrid vehicles. Toyota's sales chief for North America, Bob Carter, said on Wednesday that the automaker expects to reach a 200,000 vehicle cap on the credits before the end of June. After that, the credits will be phased out over the next year, reaching zero. Tesla and General Motors have already reached zero. On Wall Street, the Dow down by 144 points, the Nasdaq dropped 315, the S&P lower by 43. More on these stories at townhall.com.
Tell me why Relief Factor is so successful in lowering or eliminating pain. I'm often asked that question. Pete and Seth Talbot, the father and son founders of Relief Factor, tell me they believe our bodies were designed to heal. The doctors who formulated Relief Factor selected the 4 best ingredients, 100% drug-free ingredients that each help your body deal with inflammation. Order the 3-week quick start now. Discount it to only $19.95 to see if it will work for you too. Call 800-500-8384. ReliefFactor.com.
This week on RVER, sponsored by Progressive Insurance.
Oh, that new doctor is drop dead gorgeous.
Please, he's just another RV League educated surgeon with good hair.
No, he's different.
Nurses, we got a Class C motorhome with a detached driver's side mirror. Meet me in the OR. Stat.
Right away, doctor.
No, she's on break. I'll handle this one.
Oh, you conniving little...
When your RV really needs saving, Progressive has you covered. See if you could save with a leader in RV insurance. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates, covered subject to policy terms.
Israel's coalition government is experiencing some shakeups. The latest from the media lines, Felice Friedson.
Israel's fragile coalition government has suffered a blow that could be the first step in its collapse and a possible return to power of Benjamin Netanyahu. Coalition whip Idit Silman shocked the nation when she resigned from Bennett's party, setting in motion a series of events that could bring down the government. Most observers believe Silman will take up political residence in Netanyahu's Likud party under an agreement that would see her serve as a Likud minister if Netanyahu's party returns to power. Recent polling reveals lackluster numbers for novice Premier Bennett, despite his visible role in mediating between Russia and Ukraine. I'm Felice Friedson, Town Hall News, Jerusalem.
News and analysis at themedialine.org and townhall.com. I'm Keith Peters reporting.
On Point weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
And here's tonight's forecast. Overnight showers possible. We'll stay mild with a low of just 66. Tomorrow, a few morning showers might linger before we have a mix of sun and clouds the rest of the day and a high of 67. A cold front will bring much cooler weekend temps with a Saturday high of just 57 and a Saturday night low of 38. No more rain until the middle of the week. I'm Brian Leonard with your On Point local weather. WQXL Columbia, W264DF.
Grills, outdoor kitchens, and fireplaces. Spring Sizzle starts with Bart. This is 107 The Point.
Come on, hit it. Do it. You know you want to.
Welcome back to Sports Talk on the Sports Talk Media Network. You can reach the guys with the South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number, 888-898-2525. That's 888-898-2525. Now back to Phil, Chris, and Pat with the second hour of Sports Talk on the Sports Talk Media Network.
All the times they have changed here in Charlotte for this event. I was just walking around looking, and to describe the crowd correctly, I just have to say smallish crowd on hand tonight. Tar Heels and Gamecocks about to get underway. Smallish media contingent. I can remember in the early years of this series, there were media everywhere, overflow media. I think it's just me and maybe just one other to speak of. So, but again, that's a reflection on the way the seasons are going. The Gamecocks are not having a good year, and North Carolina last two ACC series have not gone well. So I guess the fans are a little turned off about it right now. Maybe when these teams return. And look, I mean, North Carolina still has 20 wins, and I guess they're still considered a pretty strong contender for an NCAA berth. Mm-hmm. South Carolina's got some work to do. A lot of midweek losses, and, of course, losing a Missouri series last weekend. That was one they had to have, considering how tough their schedule is. Those are the kind of series they have to win to salvage anything from this season. So getting underway here in Charlotte, and we'll update things as the innings move along here for the next half hour. That I'm getting out of the way, and SC Wild with Chris and Major Downer and Pat, and also some Dabo Sweeney coming up. But right now we continue our double team coverage, a little TV talk there. Team coverage, double team coverage of the Masters. We bring in the master of all Masters reporters. He is simply known as Don Williams. Not the country music star, but the godfather, grandfather, creator of this thing we call Sports Talk. Now going strong in year 38, more or less. Hello, Don.
Philip, how are you?
We're doing great. Great to have you with us once again. Looking forward to your insights on Augusta rest of this week. What do you think about everything you've heard and seen and taken in this week at Augusta as we get ready to tee it up in the morning?
I don't know if you've heard, but Tiger Woods is playing. That's kind of a big deal. Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm reporting from China because there's this 5-second gap between me and you. Are you using rudimentary technology these days?
I am using the highest level of remote technology that is possible. Just bear with it. You're a professional broadcaster. Deal with it.
I can tell. All right, so what's been going on this week? Well, first of all, there's no recruiting news at the Masters, so that's a good thing. It has rained a lot. Is that impacting your baseball crowd? Because it's raining and thundering in Columbia right now.
Well, I don't know if it's the overcast clouds that we have, the overcast conditions impacting the crowd, or the fact that South Carolina's under 500 and North Carolina's had a little rough go of it here. So it's not a big crowd. No, I call it smallish.
Yes, I did hear that several times. Well, of course, the Gamecocks are going for the triple, right? They beat them in football, beat them in women's basketball, so might as well try to finish them off here tonight. It's, they say taking all of the oxygen out of the room. Tiger Woods has done that over the first 3 days. The only competition has been the weather. And they had to chase everybody off of the grounds yesterday at 11 o'clock today. It was a little bit better, but still the same thing at 3:30. They had to curtail the par 3 competition and, again, get people to leave the premises because of threatening weather. The good news, Phil, is the rain is supposed to end by daybreak tomorrow, and assuming that they don't have any course conditions that need to be cleaned up, branches blown down or things of that nature, they should be able to get underway on time with the first tee time at 8 o'clock, and the weather is supposed to be good for the rest of the tournament. But they're going to have challenging conditions because it's going to be much cooler than most Masters are, especially on Saturday when the highs are barely 60. And then Friday, they're talking 20 to 30 mile an hour sustained winds with gusts even more so than that. So you're really going to see maybe 4 different days. Tomorrow is going to probably be soft because of all the rain. And, we call that target practice when they can just fire right at the pins. Then Friday, they're going to have to deal with those high winds. Saturday, it's going to be chilly and still breezy, not as high as Friday, but, that means the course should begin to dry out and become a little bit more difficult. And then Sunday, as it always seems to be, is the most ideal day of the 4, mid-70s, sunny, and not too much in the way of wind. So we're going to see probably a different golf course every day, and that's going to be fun to watch.
Yeah. Looking forward to it. Want to see how they handle those winds on Friday. And, of course, Sunday's going to be beautiful, and we'll see how they come down the stretch with some good conditions. What about the changes to the course they've made since last year? Going to make much of a difference?
I don't know. We'll find out. I think, obviously, the biggest change I think that's going to be very apparent is 15. They extended that course, that hole, rather, by about 20 yards, if I'm not mistaken. And with the soft conditions, that means not a lot of rollout in the fairway. So it's going to be a long second shot in for those that want to go for the green. But it had gotten to be, kind of a back to a 7 or an 8 iron for your second shot, and that's just too short for a par 5. So it'll be there'll be some gambles taken, and there'll be some gambles lost. So that'll be exciting to watch throughout the tournament. So that's going to be a little tougher. 15 is the second easiest hole on the course behind number 13. And then 11 is the second toughest hole, and they lengthened that one, but they also changed the sight lines, took some trees out, added some trees back in. The whole goal was to make the players shoot at the green because everybody for years has bailed outright on 11. Remember, Larry Mize chipped in back in 87, and they're trying to take that away and make that a more difficult chip and also make people pay attention to the water left of the green on number 11. So I don't know if it's going to make it tougher. It's just going to play different. But certainly 11 always was a difficult hole. It's going to be, they're going to force them to do things they're not comfortable doing on that hole. And then 15 is just going to be a little bit more difficult, and it needed to be.
Talk seems to be a lot about Scotty Scheffler, of course, Justin Thomas, when they're not talking about Tiger, of course.
Right.
Are those the two that you're looking at as the odds-on favorites or somebody else?
No, I think that it'd be foolish not to take a look at Scheffler right now. He's the hottest player in the world. I think Dustin Johnson is playing better of late. We saw that in the match play a couple of weeks ago, and the course has to just ideally suit him. And, of course, he holds the record for the lowest under par score at Augusta, albeit in November. I think Xander Schauffele, Justin Thomas, you mentioned him. Yeah, I think that, it's been a 20-something dominated year, the young guys. And I think Cameron Smith, who won the Players last month, is playing as well as anybody. There's a lot of sentimentality. People want to see Rory McIlroy finally break through. I just don't see any sustained good play by him. But when he won last year in Charlotte, it seemed to come out of nowhere, so you can't totally rule him out. And, of course, Jordan Spieth is always a big favorite, but his putting has just been atrocious of late. So, I think Scheffler and Schauffele and Cantlay and Justin Thomas and DJ, I think that's a good group from which to pick if you're looking to find a winner. Oh, I guess I should add Bernhard Langer, too.
Always Bernhard.
Oh.
Always.
Well, he's in the field, so he's got a chance.
Don, quick question regarding defending champ Hideki Matsuyama. He's been battling a neck injury, before that a back injury. Just curious if you have an update on his condition for this weekend, if you expect to see him play, and how you think he will fare.
Yeah, I don't think many people show up at Augusta and find their game. And there hasn't been a defending champion to repeat since Tiger a long time ago. So, it would surprise me if he's up there with the injuries that he's had. I think he's fine, whether that means 100%, but I wouldn't call him in form. So I'd be surprised to see him on the first page of the leaderboard. Another guy that I didn't mention and should be mentioned, many think he's the best ball striker in the game, and that's Colin Morikawa. And, occasionally he battles a balky putter. If he's rolling the ball, then he certainly should be among that group that I mentioned earlier who could contend. But Morikawa is not, much like Spieth, not terribly long. And I think that certainly at least on the first day, and maybe the second day as well, it's going to help you tremendously to be long, because with the soft fairways, the ball's not going to roll very much once it hits the ground.
Donna had to snag a picture of you off the internet from your new company to put on our screen that we are streaming. So I will say the glamour shot is quite interesting to see. So you're looking very fine as an executive these days. And we thank you for being with us, and we'll talk to you tomorrow.
That sounds good, Phil. Enjoy the rest of it. By the way, is there any score yet?
The score is 1-0. Your Gamecocks over North Carolina. Belk led off with a double. They loaded the bases with nobody out. Double play ground ball, got the run home. A fly out into the inning. And so we're 1-0 here in the bottom of the first.
Well, every time the Gamecocks beat the Tar Heels, there's a good friend of mine up in Chapel Hill that I try to rub it into as much as I possibly can. But after Monday night, I'm treading very softly around it. I do
well,
have.
They lost.
Yeah, I do know how to be sympathetic when somebody is hurting as deeply as I'm sure he is right now.
Oh, I'd not. I'd have rubbed it in really hard if you get that chance.
Well, let me
That's
do
just
that,
me.
Bill, before I go. Tigers 5, Yankees 3, that final from yesterday in Florida.
Well, you enjoy that. It will likely be one of the few Tiger wins over the Yankees this year. You enjoy that for all it's worth.
We'll touch base on that
Thank you,
later.
Don. We'll talk to you tomorrow.
All right, Phil. Bye.
There you go. Talk to you tomorrow. Appreciate you. Don Williams, master of all masters reporters, the grandfather, godfather, creator of Sports Talk. Without Don Williams, there's no us here. There's no telling what we'd be doing. Probably selling underwear somewhere at a Walmart. We'll hit a break, and we will come back with some Dabo Sweeney, who talked to the media after the practice. It is 1-0 USC leading. Tar Heels batting, bottom of the first. Be back.
The countdown is on, and Columbia Fireflies baseball is right around the corner. Join us at Cyber Park for Fireflies opening night Friday, April 8th at 7:05 p.m. as the Fireflies battle in-state rival and Atlanta Braves affiliate, the Augusta Green Jackets. Make sure to stick around after the game for a fireworks spectacular. Fireflies opening weekend continues Saturday, April 9th with our Royal Celebration and another post-game fireworks show. Bring your whole family for Sunday Funday where kids can run the bases after the game. Tickets start at just $5. Visit FirefliesTickets.com to get your tickets today.
Life, it has its ups and downs. Sometimes it's little things like hitting every red light or dropping your cell phone. Maybe it's the bills, rent, or pressure at work. But when it comes to the South Carolina Education Lottery, you should never feel like playing will solve everything. The lottery is a game. It's played for fun. So set a dollar amount. Expect not to win and make sure responsibilities, family, friends, and work come first. Visit PlayResponsiblySC.com.
Hi, this is Major Billy down on the DNR. And coming up tonight at 7:30, another edition of SC Wild on the Sports Talk Radio Network.
I'm attorney Jim Corbett. I love sports, and I've helped people for over 30 years. Contact me at jim@jimcorbettattorney.com when the insurance company won't pay your claim or you have complicated issues. Some other business causes your business to lose money, jim@jimcorbettattorney.com. When you lose a relative and find out you got cut out of a will or don't get what was promised. When you have serious injury, like from a wreck or mishap or on the job, jim@jimcorbettattorney.com.
When you start with air, you get a different kind of bait.
He just mislabeled it.
Right back here on Sports Talk, Sports Talk Media Network on a Wednesday evening, getting ready for SC Wild. Phil Kornbluth live up in Charlotte, where the Gamecocks got out of a little bit of mess in the bottom of the first inning after leaving.
Leading all teams, top of the second for the Gamecocks, right fielder, number 12, Josiah Sutcliffe.
Carolina. Our Carolina comes to bat in the top of the second. It's 1-0 Gamecocks over the Tar. Let's see if Phil's back.
With you?
There we go.
Yeah. I've been with you the whole time.
Well, you sound great.
Well, good.
By the way,
Appreciate that.
Reggie Anderson sends his regards.
That's
Reggie earlier today.
That's scary.
He did send me a text to say that the USC women beat North Carolina's women in soccer this year. So I think South Carolina has the upper hand. They lead here 1-0. North Carolina got a runner to second on a.
Did they call that an error?
Yes.
Error on the shortstop. Threw it way over the first base. He made a nice play, going to the backhand to make the play, but threw it way over the first baseman's head. But they stranded the runner at second. The Tar Heels. So we're in the top of the second, and Gamecocks winning 1-0. So Dabo Sweeney met with the media today after practice, and let's see here. We're going to pick it up with his following his opening question to him, and he is going to be talking about what he wants to see in the spring game coming up Saturday. So here's Dabo Sweeney up in Clemson a little while ago talking to the media there, talking about what he wants to see in the spring game Saturday.
Just a good competitive game, and really just kind of
now second baseman number 23, Jack Mahoney.
Kind of carry that environment. We've got a lot of guys that have really had to play much bigger roles this spring than maybe they have in the past. And then you split the team with 20 scholarship guys unavailable. It's quick. So it's going to be fun, man. I just want to see them compete. I want to see some of these guys that maybe haven't played as many reps and maybe not going to have to play a ton of reps in the season. I want to see how they respond. I want to see how they handle it. Just see them take and execute what we've done this spring. Not have a bunch of missed assignments. Guys that haven't had much opportunity, they're going to get some opportunity to show that they know what to do. And have some fun and put on a good show for the crowd. And hopefully see a crowd. We have a ton of recruits here. A lot of former players coming back, a lot of families. It's just a huge deal for these players. That's one of the reasons that we went ahead and split the team, even though we're thin in some areas, because that's the only way you can create. I mean, it's just such a rare opportunity that you get a chance to really create a game environment.
Let's run it to about 7:27:30, between 7:27, 37, 28. Give us a couple of minutes to talk here at the very end.
Young DBs. I mean, for a guy like Trot and Cole to be able to go out there in this environment and go play. I like Spectre, who really hasn't played in a long time. Some of our young specialists. And again, some of those D linemen. A lot of reps coming from K Park. A lot of reps coming from Peyton Page. A lot of reps coming from some of them young linemen. And it'll be fun.
I heard that Mickey's going to coach the white team. Who's coaching in orange? And what would you look like?
Mike Reed is coaching. He is the orange team, and Kyle Richardson is the white team. So and that's always fun. This is one of my funnest days because I'll pick the head coaches, split the staff, and then they have a clue.
26, Kyle Moss.
As evenly as they possibly can, which is a very interesting process. We kind of look at it and make sure it's all
see the
trade and everything. I think we only had one trade this year that we had to kind of talk through, and then but once all that's separated, we got two offenses and two defenses. Then we kind of bring the head coaches up.
When I come back on,
by accuse Reed of having a loaded coin because the first coin toss, 2 out of 3, he won the coin toss, so that he gets first pick. That means he can choose either offense, he can choose either defense, and it's always they're going to do. And then I always take it well known who picked. So he picked one of the defenses. So by default, Kyle Richardson.
Every time I go to a game or a stadium, I
they knew they were the default defense. And, oh, by the way, he didn't get either offense either. So now it's Kyle's. Since he got first pick and chose the defense, Kyle gets the first pick on offense. So he picked his offense. And so by default, Reed got the other offense. And then we do another coin toss for the specialist. Reed won again. So he got first pick of the specialist. Then we do another coin toss for orange and white. Reed won again, so we're going to Vegas today. And so he chose orange. So then we kind of reveal everything in the team. It's always fun. It's always a fun day. This day is a light day for us. We come out and we get some meeting done, a little bit of group work. And then the last period, coach the team on what the expectations are for the summer. Because these guys, when we do, skills and drills is a big part of our development in the summer, and that's got to be player-led. So we kind of coach them up, what the expectations are, make sure the leaders understand, what they need to do. And then we split the teams, and they get, I get out of the way, and they get ready to play. They get their offense, defense, kicking game ready to go. And we kind of come together. So it's always a good day. So a lot of fun and should be a great day. It's going to be a beautiful day in the Valley. Again, hopefully we have a great crowd and a good competitive game. Last year was a great game. It turned out to be a heck of a game right there at the end. So
will Brandon call plays for both teams, or will Kyle?
No, Kyle will call for one team, Cedar call for one team, Media call for one team, West call for one team. I think that's always good too, to just challenge your staff in a different way. That's always a lot of fun. Then we're a little thin on a couple because Artavis has to be in a wedding. He's been on the books for a long time, so I'm gonna have Bo and EJ coaching the receivers on one team. But Bo's not going to play. He'll probably be able to play next week, but he's still not quite ready.
Now to play for South Carolina, the catcher, number 10,
Sweeney. All of that is on our website, SportsTalkSC.com. So we'll also put it up in the podcast form. Don't forget, everything we do it for you. But we do it in podcast as well, the entire show. And the various pieces of the show on a given night, I'll put up in podcast form. They are housed at SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts, and also at
what's the other one? Help me out, people.
You got iTunes, you have Spotify.
Spotify.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah, Apple Podcast. We don't have iTunes. We have Apple Podcasts. We have Spotify. We have SoundCloud. You can get everything there. So, people who like podcasts, I'm not a big podcast person, I guess because I'm into live radio. I mean, when I'm walking around doing anything, I'm listening to live, local radio as much as possible. That's what the world revolves around me. By the way, we are in the top of the second. We've had a pitching change. I think this will be the first of like 50 pitching changes. I might still be here tomorrow night at the rate this game's moving. The Gamecocks are leading 1-0. So getting out of here. If you noticed on the screen, I got my Charlotte Knights baseball cap. So Chris, I'm leaving it with you and Major Down. You guys have a great SCY.
We shall, Phil. You enjoy the rest of the ball game, and hopefully it'll end before midnight.
Now batting center,
All right, we'll slide a quick timeout.
On Point Weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
We'll stay mild with
Thank you. Good job to you guys.
Tomorrow, morning showers might linger.
Have fun with Major Downer. You're going to have your friend on, right?
High of 67. Cold front will bring much cooler weekend temps with a Saturday high of just 57 and a Saturday high.
Okay, well, we squeezed everything out. So I guess, put up MJ, put up Don, and Major Downer.
Part of taking care
I
of
guess that's everything right there.
if you're at risk of type 2 diabetes. Pre-diabetes is serious.
Okay. Oh, ask Chris too if he can hear me, but he's putting up the podcast. Put up.
90% of South Carolinians who have it don't know they have it.
Well, I'll tell you what, I'll do that. As a matter of fact, since I'm going to be sitting here, tell Chris that I'll put everything up after. Since he's got to drive back, tell him don't worry about it. I'll put everything up after the show. Oh yeah. Well, he's got to drive back and everything. I'm going to sit here for probably 3 more hours. I got plenty of time. It's baseball, baby. Okay, guys. Thank you. Great job. See you tomorrow.
Always seems to leave you feeling lethargic
See you.
and just
Bye.
missing out on the vital nutrition you get from fresh fruits and vegetables. That's why Balance of Nature exists. Balance of Nature was developed to help combat the red lifestyle that seems to permeate throughout America. Balance of Nature takes a nutritious blend of 31 different fruits and vegetables, puts them through an advanced cold vacuum process, and grinds them up and delivers them right to your door. You can get all the recommended servings of fruits and vegetables into your diet in just a few seconds without worrying about buying, storing, and preparing them. Eat better and feel better by going to balanceofnature.com, and be sure to get 35% off your first preferred order by using discount code BALANCE.
If you're like me, you're sick and tired of seeing these old TV stars, game show hosts, and athletes telling you how to save money on your Medicare and on your health insurance. These national toll-free numbers are overwhelming us. It's not that people don't need the service. They need good local customer service, not big box toll-free numbers. See, I work directly with Tim Henberry right here at Medicare Blueprint in Midland. When it comes to my family, I want the best family plan. I'm not even on Medicare, but my mom is, so here's what I do. Someone local to serve as my advisor on the plans and choices that I have, and someone to help mom with her Medicare. I want someone to help me pick the right plan, save me all the rules of the game. Medicare Blueprint starts the process with you. They will see it through. They answer all your questions. They call you back. It's the same folks helping you start to finish. Tim and his team are independent. They fight for you, not the insurance company. Online, it's MedicareBlueprint.com or call them 708-7398.
Hi, this is Marcia Clayman.
And I'm Karen Pickard. We're your hosts for The Positive Point on Aging.
We'll talk about aging gracefully and senior care every Tuesday morning from 8:30 to 9 o'clock a.m.
Join us right here on The Point for The Positive Point on Aging.
Brought to you by Oakley Village of Lexington.
When you're a military veteran with over 40,000 organizations trying to help you, it can be hard to find the right information. That's why AARP brings together valuable resources to help you navigate your options. AARP.org/veterans. With the free veteran employment and fraud prevention resources, caregiving tools, and access to discounts, AARP, on a mission to support veterans. Visit AARP.org/veterans today.
Hi, Chris Neely here from the South Carolina Public Charter School District. Join me every Tuesday afternoon at 5:30 with Kev as we put our kids first. We'll answer all your questions about charter schools in the Palmetto State. Kids First, every Tuesday afternoon at 5:30 on The Point. Everyone knows that here at The Point, we are all about supporting local businesses. We are all about local, local, local. You cannot get more local than my friend Greg McCoy and his business, Simplified Mortgage Solutions. Fran Halloran here. If you're buying a home or you're looking to refinance your current home, you owe it to yourself to call Greg. He is the real deal. You can expect Greg to treat you like you are his only client. You can expect Greg to scour the market to find you the best rate available. You can expect Greg to charge you a fair price for his work and his service. Why would you deal with some national company headquartered in who knows where when you can do business with Greg? Need further persuasion? Okay. I didn't even mention the good Greg does in our community by supporting local charities like Blue Star Mothers and Camp Chemo. Come on. You need to call Greg. Online at simplifiedmortgagesc.com, or you can call Greg at 803-722-6044. That's 722-6044.
Now on Sports Talk, it's SC Wild with Major Billy Downer of the Department of Natural Resources. Major Downer is here to take your questions about the great outdoors in South Carolina. Give him a call at 888-898-2525. It's SC Wild from DNR on the Sports Talk Radio Network.
And back we are, Sports Talk on a Wednesday evening. Chris Berg and Pat Daniel in Columbia. Phil Kornblut up in Charlotte, watching the Gamecocks grab now a 3-0 lead over North Carolina, top of the second inning belt with a 2-run single to left field. That has given the Gamecocks a 3-0 lead as they continue to bat in the top of the second. Meantime, down in Conway tonight at Springbrook Stadium, Coastal taking on the College of Charleston. All Chanticleers early. They lead 5-0 in the top of the fifth inning. 5 runs, 3 hits, no errors for CCU. 0-1-0 for the college. But it is every other Wednesday, and that means it's SC Wild with the South Carolina Department of Natural Resources, and that means our good friend Major Billy Downer joins us here this evening. And the great outdoors, Major, have been the scary outdoors the last 48 hours or so. How's everybody hunkering down at DNR with all the storms that have been moving through the state?
Absolutely, Chris. Glad to be here tonight. But yeah, last night, definitely not the normal night in South Carolina. We had a couple of nasty tornadoes touch down in a couple places of the state and drag through. I was talking to our state climatologist today and her staff, and just looking at the path of the tornadoes that had touched down and giving us some information on our Manning area here. Just really bad storm hit a friend of mine's house, and it just destroyed it. Fortunately, everybody was okay, but a lot of damage to the house. It just crushed their. We're talking about a very nice home. We're not talking about a mobile home. We're talking about a stick-built home, 2-story, 3,000 square feet plus. And it just got it. It pummeled it on one side. Took the roof off, crushed their cars under in the bonus room underneath. It was pretty scary to look at, honestly. One of those things you look at and you go, okay, I hope I don't have to go find bodies here because it looked that bad. But fortunately, nobody was hurt. Very lucky there, that whole community. But certainly had some tornadoes, some tornadic activity. Checked tonight. So far, doesn't look like there's going to be any tornadoes in this storm cell. Just some heavy thunderstorms coming through our area tonight. Hopefully, of course, that can always change. So make sure to keep your weather alerts on your phone active. Watch your local news. I was out driving yesterday evening, and I basically drove around that tornado and just missed it. Very lucky. But again, certainly was a bad night for some folks. Lost some property, but fortunately there are no injuries. So very lucky.
That is good news. And I think most people, when they talk about the South Carolina Department of Natural Resources, the images we get in our minds are hunting and fishing. But how much of your job and what you guys do at DNR is emergency preparedness?
Certainly we are. We are absolutely a reactionary force when it comes to that. When it comes to natural disasters, again, we have a state climatologist at DNR. A lot of people don't know that, so they're helping watch the weather and things. But for sure, with us, we are reactionary to disasters, hurricanes, that thing, because we have vehicles, because we have the boats and things that can get to places that are flooding. like we had in 15 and 16 back there. So, again, our officers are trained in operating those off-road vehicles and things, so it kind of lends us to that job. So that's what we look at. But certainly don't hope for any more bad weather in the next couple of weeks. Hope we get some nice sunny weather before Easter comes around. But speaking of Easter, I don't want to start the show tonight without talking about turkey season. Turkey season is in full swing across the state now in all of our game zones. So I've talked to our turkey biologist, and what I understand, a pretty good take this year so far. Folks having a lot of success, which generally, means our turkey population looks pretty good for the kind of take we're seeing. But we'll kind of look, wait and see what that means at the end of the year. But the Game Check app, make sure folks remember that there's a new South Carolina DNR licensing app. You can go on there. Again, you go to Go Outdoors SC, and you'll find that and load that on your phone. And you can find that in your app store, both for Apple and your Apple products and your holy cow, I'm having a brain freeze. Can't remember.
We were doing the same thing earlier with regards to podcasts, but I think Spotify and that type of thing is where you can find that stuff, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So anyhow, it's out there on your different platforms for your phone. So either way, if you got Android, what I was looking for, Android or Apple, you can get it. So, but do want to get you something on the show tonight. I know we got a very special guest waiting right now, Morgan Kaiser. If we bring her in, we're going to talk about boating safety a little bit. I know that that is something that weighs heavy on her mind, and she has been a huge proponent for a boating safety bill that's been moving through our legislature the last year or two here, and she's done a lot of hard work with her family to support a movement towards safer boating on Lake Murray, which would also spread to all the lakes and waterways in our state. So, Morgan, I'm glad to have you on the show tonight.
Hi, thank y'all so much for having me. I appreciate y'all so much.
Yeah, Morgan. Just in case folks don't know who you are, if you can take a moment, if you will, and just share your story about why boating safety is so important to you. Hey, Morgan. Yeah. Tell us why. Tell a little bit about your story real quick so folks that may not know what your story is and why boating safety is so important to you.
Yeah, so on September 21st, 2019, I was out on the boat with my parents just on a regular boat ride, and we were run over by another boat. My father was killed in front of me, just torn apart, actually. And my mother's leg was cut off, and I had to take my dress off and tie it around her leg as a tourniquet. So that really affected me and my family, and we just don't want it to happen to any other people in the waterways. We're just trying to make sure that no other families have to suffer.
All right. I appreciate you sharing that story. I know it's hard for you to look back on that, but tell us a little bit about the bill that you are supporting.
It's S-497, so that's Senate Bill 497. It's currently in the House Judiciary Committee, awaiting a hearing. It would require anybody that's born on or after July 1st, 2006 to get a boating education certificate before operating a boat on our waterways. So it won't affect anybody that currently owns boats. It's not going to affect anybody that's older than 16. But once it goes into effect, anybody that's born on or after July 1st, 2006 will be required to have a boating safety certificate before operating a boat.
That's correct. So we've talked about this before. A lot of times when we talk about boating safety, some people get up in arms a little bit and wonder, why do I have to take boating safety if I've been running a boat for 30 years? This law, as it is written now, it has a born after date, which is what she's describing, Morgan's describing. And basically that means those that are born after the date in the law would be required to pass a boating safety course. Now, that means if you were born prior to it, don't. So you're basically grandfathered in. And what that does is allow for a very slow process of getting everyone certified in boater education over the next 30 years, basically. It doesn't affect the current public boating, but it will affect the future and secure safety in the future for our boating public. So that's something to think about. You know, a lot of folks have different opinions, but we can all agree that we want to be able to go out in the water and have a safe time. We want to be able to go out and enjoy the waterways. We want to be able to come back and be able to go home with our families, not be missing anybody, certainly not have the story that Morgan had or others have had, and lose somebody on a day that should be a fun day and make that become a nightmare. Nobody wants that. We're just trying to, I know Morgan is trying to support boating safety as we as a department do. We are certainly behind anything that would help make our waterways safer. And there are folks that will say, well, what does education do? How does that make it safer? You know, if you told my biggest comment to that is when we drive a car. Before you drive a car, you can't just go out and drive a car. You got to pass the test. And cars have brakes, and they stop real easy. And you know, you have roadways. On the water, there are no roadways. Everybody knows that in boats. We know you can go anywhere, which is kind of the fun part about boating. But at the same time, for somebody that doesn't understand a boat, to have no knowledge of a boat, to be able to go out there and buy a $150,000 Scout, or I don't want to pick on Scout, but any boat with, you know, 200 and 300 horsepower, or even more than that, 400 horsepower in the back, and get out on the lake and rev it up and go, and have no knowledge of boating, how the boat works, how to stop the boat, how to operate it, except for just experimenting. And it's a little unnerving sometimes. But there's a lot of people out there that do that. They go buy a boat and they never have one before. And we saw that in the last 2 years of COVID. Well, people just wanted to go out and they bought boats. You know, none of the boating dealerships had any boats because everybody was buying a boat. So that's one of the things that just concerns people a lot of times is, if you really think about it, it's people out there on the water that don't have the experience. Of course, in different stories, alcohol plays a factor, and we know that. We do our best to educate the public on that, about drinking and boating. But boater education is a way to start at a baseline somewhere with young people. And if you have the born after date, like she said, 2006, basically if you're 16 or older when this bill would be passed, if it was passed this year, that you would not be required to take it. But if you weren't 16 yet, anybody born after that would have to have the boater education certification. And again, it doesn't require in-person class. It can be done online. There's so many different ways to take the class, particularly now with COVID. They've done, I know the U.S. Power Squadron, U.S. Coast Guard Auxiliary did some online classes as well, so you could have kind of a little back and forth with an instructor. But there are online courses you can take that are animated and have a lot of interaction in them that allows somebody to take a course at their own pace and not have to go to a 1 8-hour course in a day. They can take it over a series of days or weeks if they want to, a little at a time. So there's a lot of ways to get boater education should this pass. But Morgan, tell me a little bit, you've been a big proponent of this, your mom as well. What do you see as the biggest challenge yourself?
To getting this bill passed?
Yes.
We just need more support from the community. We have a lot of support from boat manufacturers and like the boating community, and we have a lot of support from legislators. But right now it's in the Judiciary Committee, and we just need to get it a hearing so we can just get it across the finish line.
Sure, I got it.
So I feel like people are worried about us taking away their freedoms. But we're not trying to do that. We're not trying to do that at all. I just think that education, we're in the top 20 of the highest death count in our country, the top 20 states highest death count, and we are one of 3 states that doesn't already have this in effect. And one of the other 3 is passing the bill this year. So, I mean, we're not trying to take anybody's freedoms away. We're just trying to make it so everybody's safer out on the waterways. Right now, only our children have to be educated. The people that can go out and buy a boat and buy beer at the same time, again, not trying to just point the finger at alcohol, but right now only our children have to be educated. And this bill is only going to affect the children now still until it slowly affects, everybody. It's a slow.
But it is a great first step, and it's a slow, steady increase in voter education. So it is a positive step. It's just a little slower maybe than some may want. But that makes it more palatable in a lot of ways to let it, slowly take effect. But I will say this, Morgan, we talk about this a lot with voting safety, what we can do to educate the public. But, again, talk about those votes. People sometimes still forget South Carolina is certainly in the top 10, if not the top 6 or 7 in the country in the number of votes. Hard to believe that little South Carolina has that many votes. But, I've always said it's 30% of our state's water. We got a lot of water in this state, and folks enjoy it. They enjoy boating. Our old director, Alvin Taylor, always said, and I always thought it was a great statement he made, you couldn't go anywhere in South Carolina without seeing a boat, whether it's a john boat, a canoe, or a tri-tune, or a pontoon, or what have you in somebody's yard. There's one almost in every backyard because this state enjoys boating. And with so many people boating, isn't it a good idea to make sure that when we're out there in the water, we're safe when we do it? So again, we can do that for a lifetime and avoid the tragedies that we've seen happen from people just not knowing what to do in the scenario. One of the things I want to talk about tonight to remind folks, as we start up warmer weather coming up, Easter weekend coming up next week, boating on Lake Murray is going to pick up, boating on other lakes in the state like Hartwell, like Kiwi, Charleston Harbor, up and down the coast, Lake Marion, Moultrie. Lots of folks will be out boating. Make sure before you go out this year to check your boats out, that you check your registration, make sure they're good to go. With safety equipment, check your safety equipment out. Make sure you got your whistle on board. You've got your life jackets, your PFDs, personal flotation devices, that you have enough for everybody that's going to be on that boat, that they're in good condition. You check them. Make sure there's no rips or tears in them. Make sure if you stored them over the wintertime up under seats and everywhere, they didn't get molded from the hot and cold weather, because we all know that winter in South Carolina gets hot and cold. We have plenty of 70-degree days in the middle of the wintertime. That can cause mold to grow. So check those life jackets. Make sure they're good. The material's in good shape, because you don't want to have a hole in a life jacket and find that out when you get in the water. That's not a good idea. And stuff starts coming out. So check your life jackets. Make sure you got enough. Make sure they're in good working condition. And then make sure when you get on that water that they're where you can get to them. Of course, we want you to wear your life jacket, but everybody doesn't want to wear a life jacket. We understand that. The law doesn't require you to wear it unless you're under age 12 on a boat less than 16 foot in length. Because the small size of the boat, we require children under the age of 12 to wear a life jacket at all times. But other than that, have that life jacket where you can get to it. Don't put it in a locked compartment on the boat where you've got to find a key to get to your life jackets. Everybody likes to put them in those bags, and that does keep them clean. But if you put those bags in under a locked cabinet and you got an emergency, and let's say your boat flips and throws you out, your life jackets are now in a locked cabinet in a zipped up bag. You've got multiple problems to get through just to get your life jacket on. So I always encourage folks, keep your life jackets out where you can get to them in a hurry if you need them. And always, it's a good consideration. If you're running on the water, put your life jacket on. And a couple of my friends lately have bought some self-inflators because those are much more comfortable and they feel safe wearing them. As you get older in life, you start worried about being safe all of a sudden. We're 20, we don't think about it. We don't care about, we're going to live forever. But when you get 50 and 60, you start knowing you're not going to live forever. So you kind of want that life jacket on to make sure if something happens that you float. So those self-inflators are out there. They're really nice, very comfortable. Expensive, yes, they're $150, but what's your life worth? I mean, I think anybody here would say your life's worth $150. So I find a life jacket that you're comfortable wearing, and wear it when you're underway. That's just a good rule of thumb. Past that, make sure you got your lights working, particularly at night. We have so many incidents on our waters at night sometimes of people that just don't have their running lights working. Remember, you have a red and green bow light in the front and a white all-around light in the back. Both of those lights are important. The red and green helps tell people what direction you're going, but that white all-around light in the back, that's the most important because that shows your boat out there. As challenging as it is in our boating environment today, boats out on the lakes with all the ambient light from docks, from houses, because we didn't have all the houses like we do now. Sometimes those lights get lost in the water, so those boats get lost into all those housing lights. So that means slow down. We don't have a speed limit in South Carolina. A lot of people ask that question. Do we have a speed limit? No, we don't. But we do have a law that says being negligent is wrong, and negligent can be defined as driving too fast at night through congested traffic. Not just on July 4th when it's a fireworks show. If you can't tell lights that good, if your eyes aren't are like mine and not as good at night as it used to be, slow down. Back off that throttle. It's not worth it to speed through and hit somebody. Trust me. Morgan can testify to that. It's not worth it.
I can't agree with everything that you've just said more. With the life jackets, I mean, there were 2 guys that almost drowned because their boat slipped just a few weeks ago and a kayaker happened to come upon them. So if their life jackets would have been thrown from the boat, they might have been able to get their life jackets. Luckily, they were saved. And, when you're in the moment and that tragedy happened, it's overwhelming. It's too much. So just prepare as much as you can so that you don't have to be in that situation. It's horrible.
And Major Downer, if I can jump in for 1 second here, you may or may not be aware of this, but many of our listeners are. Prior to moving back to South Carolina, I owned and operated a boat rental company up in Massachusetts seasonally. And it was not until I moved up there that it became so apparent how little amount of boater education there is for the average person around the country. The amount of people that would hop on board and expect to just be given the keys and just go along their way, had no idea about life jackets, didn't know how to turn on and off the boat, didn't know how to raise and lower the engine, and so forth. I was lucky, and many of us here in South Carolina, to have taken one of DNR's childhood boater safety courses. I still have the license to this day, and it will not only help your children and young people to learn how to have boater safety out on the water, but honestly, it will also help get them excited to get out on the water and show what they have learned. I remember my brother and I, leaving the course, it actually made us want to go right out onto our dad's boat and explore the water on our own because now we knew what we were doing. So it's not just to educate people, it's also to get people involved out on the waterways, but in a safe manner. And if we could take a moment here too for Morgan to please share with our listeners about Safe the Lake on Facebook and what maybe is the best way for them to get involved if they'd like to voice their support with this cause.
Well, thank you. Yeah, so I would love it if everybody would join Safe the Lake. We have a Facebook group we have a Facebook group where everybody comes together and they just share their knowledge. If something's going on, they can put it on the Facebook group, and just everybody actually can just learn through that as well. We also have, links to these boating courses, and we have links to events that are going on the lake. Sometimes they have events where they'll check your boat to make sure everything's in proper order. Because again, just prepare yourself so that you don't have to be in a bad situation. It's just so worth preparing for it. But yeah, so we also have a website. It's safethelake.com. And if y'all could go to that website, we have links there for you to be able to easily write the House Judiciary members and ask them to help us get this bill across the finish line. Was that what you asked for?
That's perfect. And yes, and also for our listeners, if you go to our Twitter, SportsTalk SC, we also have shared a direct link there. And essentially what it does is it is a pre-written body of an email addressed to every single one of the South Carolina representatives. You can certainly then add any context that you would like to provide. It's just a way of having your voice heard. But the goal here is we can make it as easily as possible for you to contact them. Thank you, Morgan.
Yeah,
absolutely. And, I know we got a short time here before we finish up. Morgan, I want to thank you again for being on the show tonight. I know it kind of last minute we put it together, but always a pleasure to have you with us. Always fun talking to you as well. And I appreciate all the work that you have done to support boater education. Can't say enough about that. But thank you so much.
And we thank you
You're
from here at
amazing.
Sports Talk, too.
Thank y'all so much.
So again, just reminding folks here as we close out the show tonight, just make sure as you look toward the boating season this year that you're thinking about boating education, boating safety at least before you get on that water. If you don't take a boat education course, we'd love for you to take one. Again, they're online, dnr.sc.gov, or you can take a course from the U.S. Coast Guard, Auxiliary, or U.S. Power Squadron, and many online courses that are approved by NASBLA, the National Association of State Boating Law Administrators, and they're the national group that certifies courses. And all of our courses we accept are NASBLA approved. So there's a lot of them out there to take. But again, think safety before you get out there. Get your safety equipment together. Hope you enjoy the lake and the warm weather coming up here in the next week or two. But again, thanks you for joining us on the show tonight. Safe boating to everybody in the next few weeks.
Appreciate you, Major Downer, and to all our listeners out there, we appreciate you as always. And Chris, thank you.
Oh, yeah, this is fun.
And we will see everybody tomorrow night here on Sports Talk.
Someone will be right with you.
The Point.
WQXL Columbia, W264DF.
Grills, outdoor kitchens, and fireplaces. Spring Sizzle starts